What if I told you that one of the most secretive and mysterious places on Earth is also one of the coldest? A place that holds hidden mountain ranges, alien-like landscapes, and clandestine meetings of the world's most influential figures. A place that has been agreed upon by nearly every nation to remain untouched, yet is the subject of countless expeditions and rumors of covert operations. We're talking about Antarctica, a land of snow and ice and a hotbed of intrigue. So let's embark on a chilling journey to the world's southernmost continent, shall we? Antarctica, Earth's southernmost continent, home to sub-zero temperatures, colossal glaciers, and a distinct lack of permanent residents. But this isn't just a barren, icy wilderness. In fact, it's a place that piques our collective curiosity. Could this frozen wasteland be teeming with secrets just waiting to be uncovered? Antarctica boasts an array of fascinating and unique geographic features, the likes of which can't be found anywhere else on Earth. Its expansive ice sheets, the largest single mass of ice on our planet, are powerful enough to influence global weather patterns and sea levels. Beneath this icy surface lies a diverse landscape of mountains, valleys, and even subglacial lakes, their secrets perfectly preserved by the unforgiving cold. Amid these extreme conditions, life persists. Antarctica is home to a rich array of wildlife, from the regal emperor penguins to the tiny hardy tardigrades. Yet human habitation here is temporary and limited, with no native or permanent residents. The people who do venture here are usually scientists living in research stations, studying everything from climate change to astrobiology, in conditions that are as close as we can get to those on other planets. And then, of course, there's the ominous polar night. And for about half the year, the sun never rises over the Antarctic horizon, plunging the continent into months of relentless darkness. Imagine standing there, beneath the ethereal glow of the aurora australis, the frozen plains stretching out before you as far as the eye can see, untouched and silent. It's in this profound silence and isolation that one begins to wonder, what secrets does Antarctica hold? Why do people, some of them very influential, visit this icy, inhospitable wilderness? Could there be clandestine meetings occurring in the hushed silence of its frozen expanse? Antarctica's enduring allure lies in its isolation, its extreme conditions, and its inaccessibility. It's a place that challenges our understanding of life and survival, a testament to nature's raw power and resilience. It's a place of mystery and beauty, of ice and isolation. But the real question that hangs over this icy wilderness is this: what secrets does it hold? Let's start by exploring the enigma that is Antarctica. So we've talked about the famous faces who've been to Antarctica and the ambiguities surrounding their trips. But what about the mysterious missions that have taken place in this frozen wasteland? Because as it turns out, Antarctica has been the stage for several undertakings that still baffle us today. Let's begin with Operation High Jump. This expedition, led by the United States Navy in 1946, was officially a scientific and exploratory mission. But the scale was staggering. Around 4,000 personnel, 13 ships and numerous aircraft were involved, making it the largest Antarctic expedition ever. Officially, the mission was to establish a research base and to test military hardware in extreme conditions. Yet the operation ended abruptly, well before the planned 8-month duration. Why was that? Well, the official explanation was unfavorable weather conditions, but conspiracy theorists suggest there might be more to it. Another significant event was the Soviet Union's Antarctic expeditions in the late 1950s and 60s, particularly the establishment of the Vostok Station. Beneath this station lies the hidden Lake Vostok, a vast untouched body of water cut off from the world for possibly millions of years. Could the Soviet Union have been interested in something more than just scientific research? But perhaps one of the most intriguing stories of Antarctic exploration is the British Operation Tabarin of 1943. Officially, this mission aimed to provide a British presence in the Antarctic, denying access to the area for enemy ships and submarines during World War II. But the secrecy surrounding it, plus the establishment of permanently occupied bases, led to speculations about potential ulterior motives. All these missions, while draped in the mantle of science and exploration, had undertones of military strategy, geopolitical influence, or, according to some, even darker purposes. Whether it was the Americans, the Soviets, or the British, each expedition left behind a legacy of unanswered questions. What were these nations truly seeking in the vast, icy expanse of Antarctica? The answers, much like the continent itself, remain in mystery and ice. Now, you may be wondering, who are these high-profile visitors we're talking about? Well, over the years, there have been several intriguing instances of noted individuals journeying to the Antarctic. Let's delve into a few of these enigmatic encounters. One of the most famous figures to visit Antarctica was none other than the Secretary of State of the United States, John Kerry. This happened in 2016 during the last days of his term in office. What makes this trip interesting isn't just the timing, but also the reasoning. While the stated purpose was to learn about the effects of climate change, conspiracy theorists suggest there could be more to the story. Then we have the case of the revered Apollo astronaut Buzz Aldrin, who journeyed to the South Pole at the age of 86. The official reason? A tourist visit. But Aldrin's trip, given his NASA background, spurred theories about potential extraterrestrial interests in the region. Rounding up our list is Prince Harry of the United Kingdom, who trekked to the South Pole with wounded veterans in a charity event. But was this just a charity event? Or was there something else to this royal visit? And let's not forget the Russian Orthodox Church's Patriarch Kirill, who also visited a Russian scientific base in Antarctica. His motive? To bless the continent, or was there a hidden reason? All these visits by people from different nations and fields, each with their own stated reasons, seem to suggest that there might be more happening on this icy, deserted continent than meets the eye. Given the constraints and difficulties of getting to Antarctica, one has to ask, why would these people from various parts of the world take the time and effort to visit this inhospitable land? And why do these visits often seem in secrecy or ambiguity? Is it merely a coincidence that these powerful figures chose to venture to the Earth's southernmost point? Or could there be clandestine motivations hidden beneath the iceberg? We can only hypothesize and wonder as Antarctica continues to keep its secrets well guarded. The allure of Antarctica doesn't end with its geopolitical intrigue or its VIP guest list. The land itself holds secrets that baffle scientists and thrill seekers alike. For instance, beneath its icy surface, Antarctica hides the Gamburtsev Mountains, a mountain range as grand as the Alps, entirely buried under miles of ice. Discovered in 1958 by Soviet scientists, these ghost mountains remain a mystery, with scientists still unsure how they formed or why they haven't eroded away. But it's not just mountains that Antarctica keeps under wraps. Lake Vostok, which I mentioned earlier, is another of Antarctica's hidden marvels. It's one of the largest lakes on Earth by volume, and it's been sealed off from the world under kilometers of ice for 15 million years. Who knows what kind of life might have evolved in its dark, cold waters over such a vast span of time? Even stranger are the eerie phenomena that occur on the icy continent. Take the Blood Falls, for instance, a flow of iron-rich water that stains the Taylor Glacier a horrifying shade of red. Or the massive, nearly perfect circular hole in the sea ice, known as a polynya, that keeps appearing and disappearing in the Weddell Sea, baffling scientists. Then there's the Bloop, an ultra-low-frequency, high-amplitude underwater sound detected by NOAA in 1997. While scientists think the noise is most likely from icequakes, others believe it could be a giant, unknown sea creature lurking in the icy depths. But perhaps the biggest secret of all is the mystery of what lies beneath the ice. Scientists have found evidence of warm caves heated by volcanic activity that could potentially host life. Additionally, satellite imagery has revealed strange, unnatural-looking structures beneath the ice, leading to wild speculations about lost civilizations or even extraterrestrial bases. These elements, together with the political and historical mysteries we've discussed, make Antarctica a hotbed of intrigue. Despite its frigid temperatures, what secrets does this icy fortress still hold? Only time, exploration, and science can tell. Let's begin with the question, what is the only continent on Earth without a native human population? If you guessed Antarctica, you'd be correct. This naturally leads to the question, who owns Antarctica? Interestingly, nobody does. In fact, the continent is governed by a pioneering piece of legislation, known as the Antarctic Treaty. The Antarctic Treaty, signed in 1959, is an unprecedented international agreement that has been in place for over half a century. This groundbreaking pact, ratified by 54 parties as of now, suspends national claims to territory in Antarctica. making the continent a shared scientific preserve. But what's even more fascinating is that it prohibits military activity, mineral mining, nuclear testing, and nuclear waste disposal. Imagine the foresight it took to keep one of Earth's last frontiers free from exploitation and conflict. Antarctica, in essence, represents a remarkable experiment in international cooperation and peace. It's an attempt to maintain the pristine condition of the continent and its ecosystems for future generations. The treaty also encourages freedom of scientific investigation and cooperation between nations. And this cooperation has led to some monumental discoveries in fields like geology, glaciology, and climatology. Not to mention, it has provided us with invaluable insights into the history of our planet and the effects of climate change. Now, while all these regulations are in place, the treaty doesn't explicitly ban human presence or certain types of activity. It has specific provisions for inspection and observation by any party, at any time. However, the mystery deepens when we learn that while countries have the liberty to send scientific expeditions, many reports suggest that VIPs and important figures have visited the icy continent under hushed circumstances. So, why would these important personalities want to visit the coldest, windiest, driest, and arguably the harshest place on Earth? Is it the allure of the untamed wilderness? Or are there secret meetings taking place beneath the guise of scientific expeditions? The conjectures only add to the aura of mystery that surrounds Antarctica. The icy fortress of Antarctica, filled with political VIP visitors, daring missions, and natural wonders that defy comprehension. Whether it's secret meetings, ghost mountains, eerie sounds, or potential extraterrestrial bases, Antarctica continues to baffle, intrigue, and fascinate us. As the world advances, so does our curiosity and our ability to explore these remaining frontiers. Only time, exploration, and science will reveal the full scope of Antarctica's secrets.
Homo sapiens line descends from a line that goes back about 6 million years, not much further than that, if we accept conventional evolutionary theory. So 6 million years ago, Antarctica is supposed to have been as cold and as frozen as it is today. And there's undoubtedly a time, they found fossils on Antarctica, there's undoubtedly a time when Antarctica was lush and green. The question is, was it lush and green during the lifetime of the human species?
Yes.
Graham Hancock's theories about an ancient civilization in Antarctica are quite intriguing, although they veer significantly from mainstream scientific views. He speculates that a part of this lost advanced civilization was located in what's now the icy expanse of Antarctica. This is a striking thought considering Antarctica's current freezing conditions. He links this to the hypothesis of Earth crust displacement.
The entire outer crust of the Earth, like the skin of an orange, might shift, leaving the core of the Earth in place.
This theory suggests that Antarctica wasn't always at the South Pole, but might have been in a more temperate region, allowing a civilization to thrive. However, it's crucial to note that this idea of Earth crust displacement isn't supported by the current scientific understanding of plate tectonics, which doesn't allow for such rapid and dramatic shifts of the Earth's crust. Hancock also delves into mythology, drawing connections between various global myths, legends, and religious texts. He interprets these as allegorical references to this lost civilization, particularly focusing on stories of great floods or cataclysms. He proposes that such a cataclysm, maybe a flood or a comet impact, led to the downfall of this advanced civilization.
To me, the obvious answer is we are dealing with the fingerprints of a lost civilization that mapped the world and that left evidence of that mapping.
According to his theory, survivors of this catastrophe might have traveled the world, spreading their advanced knowledge, significantly influencing the development of later civilizations like the Egyptians and Sumerians. One of the more fascinating aspects of his theory is how he points out the similarities in architectural structures and astronomical alignments at various ancient sites. He sees these as potential evidence of a shared origin of knowledge, suggesting that this knowledge could have been passed down from the earlier civilization. Hancock believes that this civilization's legacy includes not just advanced architectural techniques and astronomical observations, but potentially other lost technologies and wisdom.
The date that Göbekli Tepe in Turkey is built, 11,600 years ago. That, weirdly, is the date that Plato's Timaeus and Critias gives for the submergence of Atlantis.
While his ideas certainly capture the imagination, it's important to remember that they are viewed with skepticism by the scientific community. Antarctica during the Eocene epoch was a completely different world from what we know today. It was actually positioned over the South Pole, just like it is now, but the climate back then was way warmer, allowing for a whole different kind of environment. This was a time when the continents were still shifting around after the breakup of the supercontinent Pangaea. So Antarctica, which was part of what we call Gondwana, was slowly moving to where it sits now, all isolated at the bottom of the world. This shifting around of continents, like Australia and South America moving away, played a big role in changing ocean currents and the climate. One of the most striking things about Antarctica back then was that it didn't have the massive ice sheet it has today. This absence of ice was mainly because of the much warmer global temperatures at the time. This had a big knock-on effect on the planet's climate, as the reflective ice that sends solar radiation back into space wasn't there, adding to the overall warmth. The tectonic movements during the Eocene were also pretty significant. The breakup of Gondwana was a major event reshaping the layout of the Earth's land and water. A key moment was the opening of the Drake Passage, the stretch of water between Antarctica and South America. This opening was a game-changer because it led to the creation of the Antarctic Circumpolar Current, which is a massive ocean current that goes around Antarctica. This current had a huge impact on the climate. It kind of put Antarctica in a climatic bubble, circulating cold water around it and stopping the warmer waters from the north from getting through. This is believed to have played a big part in cooling down Antarctica and leading to the ice-covered continent we know today. As for what life was like back then, the fossil records are really fascinating. They show that Antarctica supported a diverse range of plants and even animals. We're talking about temperate to subtropical forests with beeches, conifers and ferns. Imagine that in place of today's icy desert. These fossils tell us the climate was much warmer and humid, and then there's the sea level, which was way higher than what we see now because there weren't those big ice caps locking up all that water.
This is how do you know that sea level rose? There are certain corals that can only exist within a certain number of feet of the sea's surface.
This meant that the coastline and the shape of the land were quite different, and some places that are land now were underwater back then. The warmer temperatures and higher sea levels would have made the marine life around Antarctica rich and diverse, very different from what's there now. The Eocene epoch, which lasted from about 56 to 34 million years ago, was a really interesting time in Earth's history. It was part of this bigger period called the Paleogene period, and it's a part of what scientists call the Cenozoic era. This era is often nicknamed the Age of Mammals because it's when mammals started to diversify a lot, especially after the dinosaurs had their big exit at the end of the Cretaceous period. During the Eocene, the world's continents were on the move, drifting towards where they are now. This movement was a big deal because it changed how ocean currents flowed and affected the climate in a bunch of ways. Now, one of the most dramatic things about the Eocene was this event called the Paleocene-Eocene thermal maximum. This happened around 56 million years ago, and it was a time when the Earth got really warm, really fast. Temperatures shot up by 5 to 8 degrees Celsius in just a few thousand years. Scientists think this might have been because of a ton of methane being released from the ocean floor. This warming had a huge impact on life on Earth. In the oceans, some species went extinct, while on land, mammals started to evolve and diversify like crazy. The levels of CO2 in the atmosphere were also way higher than what we have today. Estimates say it was between 1,000 to 2,000 parts per million, which is a lot compared to the pre-industrial level of about 280 ppm. This high level of CO2 came from things like volcanic activity, burning of organic matter, and because natural carbon sinks weren't as effective. One of the big differences between the Eocene and now was that there were no major ice sheets at the poles. This is really different from today, where we've got big ice caps in both the Arctic and Antarctic. Because the Earth was so much warmer, the temperature difference between the equator and the poles wasn't as extreme as it is now. As a result, the polar regions were much warmer than they are today. And because there was less ice, sea levels were higher. This means a lot of water that's currently frozen in ice was in the ocean back then. This affected marine life a lot, changing where different species lived and leading to the development of new types of marine ecosystems.
One of the things I find most striking is the presence of Antarctica on ancient maps, because we didn't discover it until 1820.
Now, Graham has a really fascinating theory about an ancient advanced civilization that he believes existed long before the civilizations we commonly recognize, like the Sumerians of Mesopotamia. His idea pushes the timeline of advanced human societies back tens of thousands of years, possibly even to the last ice age. This is a huge leap from the established historical understanding, which generally sees complex societies and civilizations emerging more recently. Hancock points to the incredible architectural feats of ancient megalithic structures like those at Göbekli Tepe in Turkey, Stonehenge in England, and various sites in Egypt and Mesoamerica. He sees these as evidence of a highly advanced architectural knowledge. Moreover, he talks about the astronomical precision of these structures. For instance, how the Great Pyramids of Giza align with the stars of Orion's belt, or how Stonehenge aligns with the solstices and equinoxes. These aren't just random placements. They suggest a deep understanding of the stars and seasons. He also believes this civilization had impressive navigational skills, which might explain how similar architectural and astronomical concepts appeared across different continents. But it's not just about the buildings and their alignments with celestial events. Hancock thinks these ancient monuments reflect a comprehensive knowledge of astronomy that was integrated into the culture and religious practices of the time. He also suggests evidence of sophisticated urban planning in ancient ruins, indicating a level of societal organization and city-building knowledge that's not typically credited to prehistoric societies. Then there's the idea of a global spread of knowledge. Hancock theorizes that the similarities in architectural styles and astronomical knowledge across various ancient cultures around the world point to a common, advanced source of knowledge. This knowledge could have been spread by the survivors of this ancient society. Graham Hancock's theory really takes a global perspective when it comes to the influence of this ancient, advanced civilization he proposes. He thinks that this civilization had a major impact all over the world. It's not just a localized phenomenon, but something that reached across continents. According to him, we can see traces of this civilization in the myths, architectural designs, and astronomical knowledge of many different ancient cultures. He's suggesting that there's a kind of cultural diffusion that took place from this lost civilization to later societies. So when we see similar styles in buildings or common themes in religious beliefs and astronomical practices across various ancient cultures, he interprets this as evidence of their influence. He goes further to speculate that after some huge disaster that brought this civilization down, the survivors might have spread out to different areas of the world. These survivors, he believes, were the ones who passed on their advanced knowledge, and this played a crucial role in the development of the civilizations we know about from history, like the Egyptians and Sumerians. Now, when it comes to evidence, Hancock looks at archaeological sites and findings that he feels mainstream archaeology hasn't been able to fully explain. He talks about structures that, to him, seem like they needed pretty advanced engineering or astronomical know-how to build. He also dives into ancient texts and myths, interpreting them not just as stories or legends, but as allegorical records of real historical events. Think of tales about great floods or lost lands like Atlantis. Hancock sees these as collective memories of the lost civilization. He also notes that there are these cross-cultural similarities, like how myths from different parts of the world seem to share common themes, or how architectural styles and astronomical knowledge seem to echo each other even across cultures that supposedly never interacted.